engines on the Clinchfield Highland Valley Railroad needed communication to communicate with other engines from far distances. And that is why radios are important for the railroads. And radios were an important aspect to the railroad for communication with dispatcher and other locomotives, including steam engines, because they needed the radios too. And because without these communication devices of the radio or the walkie-talkies, the railroad wouldn't run on time or keep up on schedule. And that would be a lot of confusion and delay, or having trains delayed or on hold. Dispatchers from the control towers also use the radio so that way they can communicate with the engineers, so that way the engines can know when to leave or stand by in case of another engine is going through another track. Which is why a lot of steam engines have been given radios so that way they can communicate with the dispatcher. Passenger trains are not the only ones that have the dispatcher to contact them. Freight trains have the same aspect too. And both trains share the same communication device because they are needed to know when to stop or when it's all clear to depart. But however, steam isn't the only mode of transportation on the Clinchfield Highland Valley Railroad. Diesel engines had been part of the modernization, and diesels had been more cheaper and more efficient to run. Mr. Clinton decided to allow some diesel engines on his railroad and to modernize some parts of the line to help with the modernization, with a lot of the freight trains needing to be delivered faster and more efficient, just like steam engines did all those years ago. And Mr. Clinton wanted to choose the right diesel that is friendly, kind, and well-mannered, and to give them a chance. The steam and diesels had never seen eye to eye together back in the old days. But as of today, diesels and steam engines both work together and share the same aspect of transportation of pulling passengers and freight. And just like all steam engines, the diesels were given radio equipment to help communicate with the dispatcher. And much like a lot of steam engines, steam and diesel engines have been working together. And not to mention, a lot of the diesels had like steam engines. And despite their differences, both Aiden and his friends and a lot of the other diesels had got along back then years ago when the Clinchfield Highland Valley Railroad was in its old days. But sometimes old radios are found from long ago, and this was the case of one of them. Johnson Clinton and Jacob Steamson, an old driver that retired from the Clinchfield Highland Valley Railroad in 1979, was an old friend of the railroad, and he had found an old radio in his attic for many years, and he wanted to restore it to its former glory. Mr. Clinton and his father brought the radio outside and started to work on it. And after a few minutes, after cleaning and restoring the radio was soon back in its former glory. I never knew that this radio was in your attic for a long time, Jacob. Oh, believe me, Johnson. I had this radio since I was young. But old things can be restored, you know. Yeah, I guess it's the reason with this old thing. How long did you have it? I don't know. Many years, I guess. But this radio is still really useful, and surprisingly, I'm surprised that people can use Bluetooth on this thing. I saw it online for a lot of stores, I believe. It's really interesting, in my opinion. I can agree with you on that one. But how long has it been here? I don't know. My parents had it before, and I had it when I was a young man. Clinchfield, Silverstreak, Aiden, and Mitchell were in the sheds, and they had witnessed the entire restoration. Aiden, how long has that radio been there? Probably for about 80 or 70 years, I don't know. That's a long time. I mean, how long are old things left there and then restored? You'd be surprised, Clinchfield, because I'm an old engine, but I'm still around. Yeah, I guess. Well, sir, do you think you can try to make it work or something? Yeah, Dad. Are you sure you can try to make it work? I mean, you know a lot about old-fashioned machinery from long ago, especially steam locomotives. I bet you know how you can work this thing. Well, I'll try my best, son. After putting the batteries into the radio and checking for a frequency, Johnson Clinton finally got the radio to work. But as he was scrolling through the frequencies, he heard an unfamiliar voice in one of them. He scrolled back and tried to listen to what it was. He then scrolled back to when he heard the voice, and that was when he heard it. The voice from the radio sounded like it was from the 1930s, but it was totally different.
Greetings, people of Highland Valley. It's me, the radio, and I am here today that things are going to be frightening.
I never heard something like that before, but that name, it rings a bell. Sir, do you think there might be something wrong with the radio? No, Aiden, I think it's someone or something on the other end of the radio. I don't know, but I don't even know. A while later, Clinchfield was at the coal mine, and he was waiting for the dispatcher to give him the right of way. And that was when he heard the strange voice again, and it was coming from the radio in his cab.
Oh, this is too good for my taste. Hello, 311.
Who said that? Who's there? I'm gonna ask you once to get away from me. Get out of here, or I'm going to turn you into Swiss cheese.
I know you're there. I can hear you on the radio. You think you can interrupt me? You better watch your back.
Clinchfield? Clinchfield, you alright? Huh? Are you alright? Who are you talking to? Nothing. I thought I heard someone on the radio. Clinchfield, I got a text from dispatch that we're clear to go. He was trying to reach us on the radio, but there was something wrong with it. Oh, right. Once dispatch had reached Clinchfield on the radio, it was clear to proceed. But Clinchfield was still confused of the mysterious voice he heard. But he wasn't aware that he was being watched from behind. Really creepy. Maybe Aiden might know something about that voice I heard in the radio. Maybe he might know something about it. At Roseville Yards, Mitchell was telling Cliven about the radio. It's not like radios to act up like that. I mean, it's really impossible for them to do that. Do you think probably something or someone is messing with the frequency? Probably, or something like that. I don't even know, Cliven. I don't know what to think. Well, probably a run on the freight train will give you a good mind off of it. Probably it'll take your mind off of it. Yeah, I guess you're right. And with that being said, Mitchell departed with his train, unaware that he was going to be in for a nasty surprise. He thought he saw the silhouette of a figure up ahead of him. His driver applied the brakes and slowed down to a stop. Mitchell looked at the figure standing in front of him. The figure had a red suit, and he had a scary grin across his face. And what was even more strange, he was holding a strange staff in his hands. Mitchell still put on a determined and angry face and stared at the man. He knew that people shouldn't trespass on railway property. Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to get off the tracks, please. You're not allowed on a railway. It's dangerous. The figure just snickered at Mitchell.
Well, this is quite interesting. The Canadian Anger Diesel.
Just get off the tracks, you meatloaf!
What did you say? If you ever say that again, I will tear your soul apart and broadcast your screams for every other disrespectful wretch who dares to question me.
Oh, you better start running, Mitchell.
Mitchell screamed in horror and he raced away from the figure as fast as he could. As the figure watched Mitchell race away, he snickered and laughed at himself, pleased with his accomplishment.
You can run and hide, and I'm everywhere in every radio.